In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
It's time to recognize that we've come to a turning point. We're threatened with an economic calamity of tremendous proportions, and the old business-as-usual treatment can't save us. Together, we must chart a different course. We must increase productivity. That means making it possible for industry to modernize and make use of the technology which we ourselves invented. That means putting Americans back to work, and that means, above all, bringing government spending back within government revenues, which is the only way, together with increased productivity, that we can reduce and, yes, eliminate inflation.
The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Hello and welcome to Inform America. I'm your host, Rich Merritt. Today is July 29th, 2020. And I got a couple quick notices here. Go to the Boston Broadside, check them out. Good newspaper. I think you'll like it. NationalLibertyAlliance.org. Another great avenue for educational purposes and to help restore the rule of law in this country. Sadly needed. And either go to the email address on the screen, or you can go to Amazon if you'd like to take advantage of my book, Stand Your Ground. Other than that, we're going to talk about COVID-19, I guess, in general today. But I have a video. It's, I think, 14 minutes long. I think everybody in America should see this, and you can check it out for yourself. I already have, to find out, whether this is true or it isn't true. Verify it. But let's watch this video, and then we can talk about it when we come back.
Well, Facebook's so-called fact checkers have struck again, this time claiming that my report, which showed that science proves that wearing a face mask in public does very little, if anything at all, to prevent the spread of a virus, is untrue. They say that report was false. Fake news, they claim, simply because they say the data is old. They didn't refute the data, they just say it's old. Well, guess what? Today we're going to show you a study that isn't old. In fact, it's not even a year old, not even 6 months old. It's not even 60 days old, and yet it's a study from the CDC and the WHO that proves face masks do not prevent the spread of a virus. Facebook fact checkers, hold on to your seats. I'm Ben Swan, and this is Truth in Media. Well, welcome to the show. So Facebook's fact checkers have now claimed that the story I did last week, basically showing you science, a decade's worth of studies that show that wearing a face mask in public, not only does it not protect you from a virus, but in fact that cloth face masks can put you at risk for becoming sick. They say that that story is false. And so a lot of people have been reaching out to me saying, Facebook is announcing that your story is fake news. It's not true. Is it true? It's absolutely true. And I'm going to show you today not only another study that's less than 60 days old that verifies exactly what I told you, that comes from the CDC and the WHO, but on top of that, I'm going to show you why this whole Facebook fact-checking thing is an absolute joke. But before I do, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode, ISE.media. It is our brand new free speech platform that was created for exactly situations like this. You know, social media companies have been purging anyone who has the gall to contest or stand up to the narrative that's running through mainstream media. Even if you have facts, even if you have your evidence behind you, you're being called a liar if you stand up against the narrative. And it's been going on for too long. ISE.media is our new platform for content creators who are being purged and yet want to speak the truth to power. And by the way, we're running an equity crowdfunding campaign right now to fund this new platform. You can be a part of that. Go to ISE.media. You can actually go there and learn how you can become an investor in the company and own a piece of it. It is a network that's not only for the people, but by the people. All right, back to the story. So hundreds of you have reached out to me saying that you have seen that Facebook has now declared that the story I did about face masks and the science behind showing how face masks do not prevent the spread of a virus has been flagged as being untrue. It's been flagged as being false, they say. In fact, here's some of what that Facebook fact checker wrote. Quote, "Does current science say that face masks don't work to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus that leads to COVID-19? No, this is not true. First, a video making the claim that masks from N95 to cloth ones don't work relies on dated studies." So the fact checker begins by not saying that the information in the studies is wrong or has been proven to be false. They simply say it's dated, it's old, even though in science, when you have a study that was done and multiple studies that have been done over the last 10 years, including studies from 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2020, even though they say that those studies were legitimate studies, it's old compared to what we know today. Really? Do we really think that the science behind an N95 mask or a cloth mask has changed that much? But let's hear them out. Consider the conclusions of this study from April 10th, 2020, about a month after the World Health Organization declared a pandemic. Reducing disease spread requires two things. First, limit contacts of infected individuals via physical distancing and contact tracing with appropriate quarantine. And second, reduce the transmission probability per contact by wearing masks in public, among other measures. The preponderance of evidence indicates that mask wearing reduces the transmittability per contact by reducing transmission of infected droplets in both laboratory and clinical contexts. Now I'm going to tell you why this whole Facebook fact check is wrong in just a minute. But before I get to that, I'm going to disprove what they are saying here in terms of science, because that, as a journalist, is what I'm here to do. Not simply defend my story, but to actually, once again, reiterate the science here. And I'm going to do it with a study that is not 10 years old, 5 years old, a year old, 6 months old. In fact, a study that was done that is even newer than the one that was used by this fact checker to disprove my story. This is a study that was put together in May of this year, May of 2020, a month after the study that fact checker just listed. And this study was done with the CDC and prepared for the WHO specifically to create guidelines to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. So the claim that was made that, oh, things are different because now we're in a pandemic, this study was done in order to create guidelines specific to this pandemic, and what it finds is exactly what I told you 1 week ago. The study was conducted in preparation for the development of guidelines by the World Health Organization on the use of non-pharmaceutical interventions for pandemic influenza in non-medical settings. And here's what the study finds. The 3 points that I made to you last week, all of them held up by this brand new study. Number one, the science shows that there is no evidence that face masks prevent the spread of a virus either by the infected person or the non-infected person. Quote, "We did not find evidence that surgical-type face masks are effective in reducing laboratory-confirmed influenza transmission, either when worn by the infected person's source control or by the persons in the general community to reduce their susceptibility. However, as with hand hygiene, face masks might be able to reduce transmission of other infections and therefore have value in an influenza pandemic when healthcare resources are stretched." So the researchers here looked at 10 different randomized controlled tests, and what they found and told the WHO less than 60 days ago is that there is no evidence that wearing a face mask, including a surgical type face mask, does anything to prevent the spread of a virus for either the infected person or the non-infected person. These are very important and clear words that are used here. Now, number two, I've heard from plenty of people on the internet, these trolls who go on and try to attack the work without ever actually looking at the science. And what they have said to me is, well, if this is the case, then why do doctors and nurses wear masks? If doctors and nurses wear masks, then the rest of the public should be wearing a mask because it proves that they're afraid of getting a virus. But that's not true. In fact, the study actually addresses that. Look at this. Disposable medical masks, also known as surgical masks, are loose-fitting devices that were designed to be worn by medical personnel to protect accidental contamination of patient wounds and to protect the wearer against splashes or sprays of bodily fluids. There is limited evidence for their effectiveness in preventing influenza virus transmission, either when worn by the infected person for source control or when worn by uninfected persons to reduce exposure. Our systematic review found no significant effect of face masks on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza. And then number three, my report explained that cloth masks, the ones that most people are wearing when they go out, not only is there no evidence that a cloth mask will prevent a virus from contaminating you, nor is there any evidence that wearing a cloth mask prevents you from spreading the virus, but that actually cloth masks, according to several studies, can make you sick if you mishandle them because it makes you more likely to be contaminated by a virus. And this study, again, less than 60 days old, confirms that as well. In lower income settings, it is more likely that reusable cloth masks will be used rather than disposable medical masks because of cost and availability. There are still few uncertainties in the practice of face mask use, such as who should wear the mask and how long it should be used for. In theory, transmission should be reduced the most if both infected members and other contacts wear masks. But compliance in uninfected, close contacts could be a problem. Proper use of face masks is essential because improper use might increase the risk for transmission. Thus, education on the proper use and disposal of used face masks, including hand hygiene, is also needed. Now look, there are going to be complaints about this story. We know that that's coming. In fact, Facebook, within about a week or so, will probably claim that this story is also false. Because, by the way, Facebook's not actually checking any of these. They're having these independent fact checkers who go through and claim whether a story is true or not, and there's absolutely no accountability here. However, having said that, let's be clear about a couple things. We are not saying that there isn't conflicting information out there. There absolutely is. There have been a number of people who have sent me new studies as well, and older studies, that claim that face masks do help. In fact, there's a brand new study that just came out of BYU that says that wearing a face mask is important and it can help. We're not saying that those studies don't exist. What we're saying is there is a conflict of information here, and that is deeply significant. Why? Because it shows that if nothing else, the science is not settled here. It means that there is a clear debate over whether or not face masks actually work in preventing the spread of the virus. There is no foregone ultimate conclusion that has been made, but if you listen to the media, and if you listen to politicians, and if you listen to the Facebook fact checkers, they have decided that absolutely the science is settled, that there's only one way. And by the way, one of the claims that's made in the fact check of me is that the Surgeon General recently told people that they must wear a face mask and he implored them to wear them. That's not evidence. That's not science. That is a politician and a person in a political position making a statement. He has every right to make that statement. He's the U.S. Surgeon General. But it doesn't mean that because of his title, he is more informed than the studies that have said otherwise. And that's an important distinction to be made. What is happening here with this particular story, and where we really need to look at this Facebook problem, is that Facebook has no system in place that allows for me to challenge the claims that have been made against my story. There is no appeals process. There is no place for me to be able to say, here are the studies that have been used, or even to take this next story, which we're doing now, which I'm sure will get flagged as being untrue in the future. There is no appeals process to say, but this story is backed up by a less than 60-day-old study that was published by the CDC and that was written on behalf of and for the WHO. There's no process for that. So instead of saying, well, there's a difference of opinion and a difference of the data and a difference in terms of looking at the data, and that the science is not settled on this issue, instead, a Facebook fact checker gets the ability to come onto Facebook and simply declare by fiat, meaning without any evidence, and not based on any authority other than the authority Facebook has somehow given this strange fact checker, and is able to come on and say, I declare this information is false, it's fake. And then anyone who shares it, and I've heard from you people as well, anyone who now shares this story is now considered disseminating harmful misinformation. It is a ridiculous system. But what it's doing is it's controlling what you're allowed to say and think and believe. The facts are very clear. Study after study has shown that there is no evidence that face mask mandates will prevent the spread of a virus. There is no evidence that that science has been settled. There are studies that claim one way and there are studies that claim the other. And that's okay. It means that the science is not settled and that we should have a clear and open discussion of these things. Because there are those who say, if I'm forced to wear a face mask, it's bad for my health. I'm concerned about having too much CO2 in my system. If I have a pre-existing condition, this isn't healthy for me. Concerns for people with cancer who have to wear a face mask. There are concerns for lots of groups in America who say, I don't want to be forced to wear a face mask. And again, the science is not settled here. But for Facebook to pretend that it is, and for those who are in authority to pretend that it is, without acknowledging that there is a difference in terms of interpretation of studies, there is a difference in what these studies are finding, without recognizing that, in short, it means that this debate is absolutely not about science, and it's not about health, and it is about compliance.
Well, that's been my contention from day one, is that this is about control or compliance or consent or whatever. It has nothing to do with your health. And I want to prove that in a couple different ways. I couldn't bring this other video because I couldn't fit it on the show without making some comments. But if you happen to be on Facebook, go to Inform America page, or you can go to Richie Merritt, RICHIE MERRETT. There's a video I just posted yesterday where there was 9 or 10, I can't say that I really counted these, but 9 or 10 doctors had a press conference. And they basically talked about stop living in fear. COVID-19 is not a killer the way people perceived it to be. There are a couple of cures. What they were touting was hydroxychloroquine with a Z-Pak and zinc. And every doctor that was there, and there were 9 or 10 of them, maybe more, I can't say for certain, were saying they treated hundreds of people and not one of them, not one, died with hydroxychloroquine. People have died who have contracted it, but that's not what killed them. the other condition that they had killed them. And at least these doctors are contending that if they had gotten to those people in time, it's possible they could have saved them with hydroxychloroquine. Another doctor came out recently and said that if you use a generic steroid, and I don't know the name of it, but a generic steroid through a nebulizer, it will cure you also. My question is this: why isn't the government, the corporate government that we have, telling you this? I've seen dozens, not just the 10 or 12 that I'm talking about now, dozens and dozens of doctors from all over the country talking about hydroxychloroquine and how well it works. It's a miracle drug for COVID-19, yet people are dying because the government is not telling you this. And I'm going to say this, well, obviously it's on the TV, so I'm going to say it publicly. I received a call, this happened twice, but I received a call from Jean Shaheen and Maggie Hassan. And they said they're going to talk about, a conference call, they're going to talk about COVID-19. I said, fine, I didn't say anything, I just hung on the line. They brought on a Dr. Hall right here in New Hampshire from Health and Human Services, who, as far as I'm concerned, lied through his teeth, because a woman on the call asked him, what's this about hydroxychloroquine? It's supposed to be this great thing. And Mr. Hall, I won't even call him a doctor, said, oh, hydroxychloroquine hasn't been tried and tested. It's been around for 70 years. It hasn't been tried and tested. Doctors all over the country are touting, they're raising the flag about this thing. And the ones, if you go to the Inform America page, Facebook page, you'll see these doctors. One of the doctors is from Africa, and she said, I don't care if you kill me over this thing. Americans are dying needlessly because the information is being withheld from the public. Why? Here's my contention. I've heard Dr. Bill Gates, oh no, he's not a doctor. Bill Gates saying he wants to vaccinate 7 billion people on this planet over this COVID thing. Now, I know a flu shot generally runs a couple $100. I don't know what a COVID vaccine's going to run. But a couple $100 times 7 billion, that runs into a couple bucks. You think this has anything to do with money? Because I will tell you this, and it's easy for me to sit here 6 months from now and say, I told you so. I don't want to do that. But if you think COVID-19 scares you, wait until you see what they have in store for us. This is nothing. And I'm telling you, stop being afraid. Try to remember the word. Look it up if you have to. Write it down. If someone in your family gets sick, hydroxychloroquine with the zithromycin patch and zinc. That is the cure. That's the cure. According to doctors all over the country who are getting on the internet and trying to get the word out because the mainstream media isn't telling you. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that fake news? Isn't that the mafia? Organized crime? Could that be why? Nah. The other thing is, I walked into a store last night trying to do my grocery shop, and they had a 17 or 18-year-old kid come up to me when I was going to get my cart, and he said, oh, you got to have a mask to get in here. And I says, no, I don't. Grabbed my cart and went shopping. I'm not going to get into it with the little young man. I understand he's doing what he's told to do, and believe me, if it was the store manager, it would have been a different story. But I got to tell you something. Do you think that 17-year-old kid knows what would happen if I put a mask on? Or anybody puts is he a doctor? Is he my doctor? Does anybody know what happens to people when they put a mask on? What if you can't breathe? You got asthma, you got COPD, you got a heart condition. How do you know any of that? Yet people say, you got to have a mask to come in here. I hope somebody has a situation and they sue the ever-loving off of those people. I really do. Because if you're that stupid, you deserve it. You really, really deserve it. And the other thing, I've talked to people all the time about, they want to take my temperature. They want me to wear a mask. I says, who's they? Oh, corporate. Did corporate hire you to be your health care provider? Why are you complying with these people? The corporations in this country backed by lawyers, are the ones who's destroying this country. And the ones that are supporting them are the banks. If I don't know what's so difficult to understand about that. But this is what the problem is. Why can't people understand it? Why are you complying with corporate America? If I get a job and my job is to be, I don't know, a CPA, okay, and I'm working in a firm, well, my job is to work with numbers. Not, hey, don't concern yourself with whether I wear a mask or you want to take my internal body temperature. That's inside me. You got a warrant? Then go to hell, because you're not getting my temperature. You know, that's why I have a health care provider. If I feel sick, I make the decision to go to the doctor. I don't call corporate America and say, can you take my temperature? Should I wear a mask? I mean, people, what the hell is wrong with you? I say, oh, I'm disgusted with people. I'm losing my faith in humanity. I want you to know, I'm not suicidal. I have no intention of harming a soul. But I am really sick of people putting the mask on and doing everything they're told to do without questioning anything. Have you looked up what COVID-19 is? Have you saw where it comes from? Do you know who's behind it? Because it came out of China, but it was sent to China by us here in America to weaponize it. Oh, that's another conspiracy. Yeah, none of this happens. None of it's a conspiracy. Very quickly, on 9/11, in 2001, our country, it was an inside job. Our country created that mess and then turned around and says, you know something? We can solve that problem. Same thing's happening here with COVID-19. America started the problem, and now they're going to tell you at some point in time, well, we're going to create this. But first, before that, well, you know, we're running out of coin, we're running out of cash, we really need to change. The currency that we've had, we've already trashed that. That's useless to everybody in the world. So we're going to come up with something else, and we're going to give you a piece of plastic. Just a piece of plastic. No money, backed by nothing, a piece of plastic, and you're going to have special drawing rights, SDRs. Those special drawing rights are going to be, oh, yeah, we'll put your paycheck in your account, but if you don't agree with Big Brother, guess what? We're just going to take your name out of the computer, and that plastic card is going to be a piece of plastic card. No digits on it. You can't buy food. And that was one of my other points. If a manager in a grocery store, because he's getting word from corporate, make them wear masks. If you tell people you can't have a mask, you can't come in without a mask, at some point in time, there's going to be someone saying, wait a minute, you're telling me I can't provide food for my family?
2 minutes, Richie.
You will be in trouble. Because when it comes to people protecting their family and feeding their family or going hungry, I don't know what you need to prove anything to you. And I'm not advocating any type of trouble. What I'm trying to do is avoid that. Go to Inform America, and there's the doctors that are on the Facebook page, The doctors that are on there are all very adamant about the cure. There is a cure for this COVID-19. No one needs to die. The schools should be open. And there's no debate. There's about 10 doctors there. But there's other doctors around the country saying the exact same thing. You just got to look for it, unless you don't want to find the answer. If you think that I'm that much of a conspiracy theory, then you continue to have your head buried in the sand. Be too lazy, ignorant, and stupid to look anything up. Just believe what you're told.
1 minute.
All right, I just want to say to people, please look at this information, okay? Please look at it. You look at it. You're supposed to make an intelligent choice about you. If you don't do that, who is going to do it? Corporate America? Your boss? Who has nothing to do with your health. That's between you and your doctor. I don't let them. They don't take my temperature. I don't wear a mask. None of that garbage. I'll make the decisions for me. And I'm not threatening anybody's life either. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please share this and make up your own mind. Stop consenting to what corporate America tells you. Thank you, and God bless everybody.